Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Mum on the Go. We have got my little guy here. We are just having a little burp after a feed, and I just thought I'd pop on and start my next vlog. So this vlog is going to be covering right up until the few days before this little guy was born. And I'm just going to be covering some of the complications that we had when we got a little bit closer to our due date. So before we go any further, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and this means that you'll get those updates for when those videos go live. So as we headed into the final weeks of my pregnancy, I was feeling amazing. I was still working out in this area right here. This is like my little studio. It's now became an area for playing with our little boy. So I'm just actually getting it set up at the moment because I'm going to try and do a workout with him. So I was just getting his kind of play mat ready and his bouncer and things like that. So yeah, heading into the last few weeks of my pregnancy, I was still working out every day with my clients online, and I was feeling really good, feeling fit and healthy. And obviously as you get further on in your pregnancy, they do advise you to really monitor your movement, your baby's movements, seeing how often they're moving and just kind of keeping a rough track and an idea of what's happening, how much they're moving and things like that. So I was doing that as normal, and then I was starting to really feel that he wasn't maybe moving around that much. Now this was really kind of made worse by social media because I was following a lot of people and their baby was doing somersaults and big kicks and you could see them really moving in their tummy, and I was never really getting that. So I was thinking, is he just really chilled? And I kept saying to people, and I did have a lot of pain up in my ribs, and I was thinking, is something wrong? So one day, it had been quite a lot it'd been since my husband had been away at work, so a full day at work, and I hadn't really been feeling much movement and I was starting to panic. So he came home and I said, you know what, we'll try all the things that they recommend. So I had cold drinks, ice cold water, tried a little bit of movement, and I still wasn't really feeling much. So I decided that it was best to phone the hospital and just get a wee check. So I phoned the hospital, and to my surprise, they literally said, you need to come right now and we'll get a scan, we'll get the monitor on you just to check everything's okay. So obviously when that happens, you hit a panic because you think, oh my goodness, should I have went sooner? Like, should I have went earlier? Have I left it too late? And so yeah, this was quite late at night and we just went straight to the hospital. We didn't actually tell anyone that we were going because we didn't want to panic anyone. We thought everything was going to be fine, but they were telling us to come in, so just to get checked. So we got there, we got the monitor on, they checked my heart rate, checked baby's heart rate, which was fine. It was good, I could hear it strong, which was such a relief when they put that machine on and you just hear the heartbeat. It's just, you feel just so much instant relief. But they were still worried about movements and how much I was feeling. So they gave me a little buzzer and they basically said, push the buzzer every time you feel some movement or feel a kick. And I've got a photograph of me lying on the bed here. And so I didn't feel any movement the whole time that we were there. Even though his heart rate was nice and strong, I wasn't really feeling much movement. So obviously there was still concern for, the baby, what's happening. They wanted to do a little further check. Excuse me. Ow, that is my hair. I'll be right back. Sorry, I don't know how long I'm going to last here doing this, but I'm going to give it another go on this side. So yeah, they did ask if I wanted to stay over to be monitored, but I wanted to come home. I just felt more comfortable in my own house, and the fact that I'd heard his heart rate obviously kind of settled me a little bit, and I thought, I might come home and I might feel something if I lie down in my bed and I'm comfortable, so that's what we done. But they organised me to go straight back the next day to get a scan, first thing in the morning. Again, didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to panic anyone, and I didn't want to start panicking either. So the next morning, my husband was actually working, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to just go myself to the hospital. There'll be nothing wrong. It'll be fine. So got there, waited. Actually, I waited like an hour and a half for my scan. So that was a bit kind of not annoying, that's not the word to use, because that they're busy and they can't help, there's stuff that's got to be done, but you're sitting there, you're quite anxious and you're not really sure what's going to happen with your scan, so you're like, come on please. So eventually I got taken for my scan, and literally the lady pulled down, put the gel on, put the ultrasound on my tummy, And her first words to me were, "Oh, we've got a little breech baby here." And I was like, "Sorry, what? Like, what is Breech?" So I didn't know that he was Breech, and obviously I had been getting checkups and everything all along. I had said to my husband for quite some time, probably since about 20 weeks, that I thought he was going to be Breech. I don't know why, I just had a feeling. So for anyone that doesn't know, Breech means basically when, you know, the baby's facing the wrong way around and his head was not going to engage and it wasn't facing down. So I instantly started to tear up and I felt really upset because I knew in my head that this meant probably going to have a section. But I wasn't giving up hope. So I was really, really upset just there. And then they explained to me that I would have to go down and speak to a consultant. And the minute they said that, I was like, in my head, I'm getting a section. And that's it. It's decided. Which I really didn't want to have. At the time, I was really upset. I mean, I've been to my active birthing workshop. I know the kind of birth that I want. And yes, I had always known that births never go to plan. They never go to what's written down on the sheet. But I really wanted the opportunity. I really wanted the opportunity to, I really wanted the opportunity to try and have an active labour, and I wanted the opportunity to push. I know that sounds crazy, but I had in my head how I wanted it to go, and this was not the way I wanted it to go. So I go downstairs and we speak to someone. I'm obviously still there by myself. My husband's not there. I've not got anyone with me. And she said, "So I'm just going to have a chat with you about the options about C-section delivery." Well, I was distraught. I really didn't expect to be so upset, but I was a mess. I couldn't stop crying, and it was the worst kind of crying, the kind of crying where it's really messy and really loud and you're just sound ridiculous. And I was even apologising to the midwife because I was like, I don't know why I'm so upset. This was not what I was expecting. I said I just had so much, like I've been so active and I just thought I was going to have this really good birth, and you know, I've kept myself really fit and healthy, and everyone kept saying to me, "You're going to have such a great birth because you're so fit and healthy and you'll just be in and out in no time at all." And it was just, I could just feel it all unraveling and it was out with my control. And I think that was the hardest part for me, that I didn't have any control. So I won't lie, it did really hit me hard. And you know, I'm not saying that I was one of these people that was like, you know, C-sections are not proper deliveries. It wasn't anything to do with that. It was literally just, I'm a fitness instructor, and in my head I was thinking about the recovery and thinking how much longer I was going to be off, and I was going to have this major surgery and I wasn't going to be able to hold him, and I wasn't going to be able to do this and I wasn't able to do that. And that's the bit that I was most terrified for, not the fact that I was not having, I was gutted that I wasn't going to be able to push, and I wanted to have that moment, you know, where your water's breaking, you're like, oh my god, I'm in labour. And then, yeah, and I know it doesn't really happen, it maybe wouldn't have even happened anyway, but I just wanted that little moment, and I was just gutted that it was all kind of being taken away from me without choice. So yes, we were Breech, and we had to then assess the situation and decide what we were going to do from there. So obviously the options were to go straight for the C-section, get a date and head for delivery, or we could try to turn baby round, which was called ECV, and it's got a big fancy long name which I'm not even going to pronounce. And I decided that I was there and then in the hospital when she told me that that he was Breech. I was right, I'm going to try everything. I want to do the ECV, I want to go for it, let's do it. Got home, I was so distraught. I cried for like a whole day. It sounds, now that he's here, I'm like, how ridiculous, Steph. Like, what? Why were you so upset? I was just so upset. So, got home, had to wait a few hours till my husband got home from work to actually tell him this information. I didn't want to phone him when he was at work, and then he would hear how upset I was down the phone, and then he wouldn't maybe be able to come home, or I would disrupt him. And I just thought, you know what, I'll just deal with it when he gets home and we'll talk about it then. So when he got home, we went out for a big walk and we talked it through, and we talked over all the different scenarios of, you know, what could have happened if I'd went into natural labour. And I actually started to think, do you know what, there's so many other things that could go wrong, and I know that he's going to be delivered safely and happily, and it's going to be nice and relaxed. And I started to get my head around the fact that I was going to be having a C-section. So the more I talked over with my husband, the more, I don't know what to say, what's the words we're looking for? More attractive, the idea was becoming. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. The more I was kind of coming around to the fact of, you know, having a C-section, it wouldn't be that bad. So then I was like, my head was, I think, I don't know why, I think I was kind of scared to try the turn because I watched videos on YouTube and people were saying it was so sore and everything. So I decided to go for it. And the following videos are actually from the few days surrounding the breech news and what I decided to do and where we went from there. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our pre-birth story. I'm currently 38 and 1 day. We have got a little breech baby in here. So we found out that we were breech at 37 and 5. So that was a little bit of a surprise. So the news of a breech baby did hit me pretty hard. And I was quite upset, but after I talked to my husband and we sat down and we really went through everything, at the end of the day, the most important thing is that this baby comes safely and sound and he's nice and happy when he comes out. So really it doesn't matter which delivery we end up with as long as he gets here safe. So we have decided to try an ECV. There's a really long word for that. I'm not even going to try and say it. Which basically is a hands-on procedure that they try and turn your baby. I have been doing some exercises at home once I found out that he was breech, from spinning babies and things like that, but I'm actually unsure if he's going to turn at all because all of our previous scans, so we went for a scan at 20 weeks obviously, which we get on our NHS, then I went back at 23 weeks because at 20 weeks he couldn't get all of his measurements because his feet were up here, which is the position that he clearly likes. And then we went for a private scan at 28 weeks, I think it was, to try and get some little photographs and things like that. And again, baby's feet were up at his face, so we didn't really see anything. Obviously at that point we weren't too concerned, we thought baby would turn. And I went for my regular midwife checkup at 34 weeks and they thought that head was down and baby wasn't breech. So we weren't concerned until obviously we went for our scan about movement and we got a little surprise that he was breech. So just about here I've been feeling his head really protruding out for probably the longest time that I can remember. So I think he has been breech the whole entire time, which is why I'm not sure if the ECV is going to work. And I was really sceptical whether to give it a try, just because of a lot of things that you read online saying it's really painful and it's really sore. But at the end of the day, I thought, you know, spoke to the consultant and he basically talked me through everything. He said it's a really low risk procedure for you and your baby. And he was like, you know, if it doesn't work, then we're back to where we are at the moment. So at the moment, I'm in the position of, if I don't manage to do this turn, I am going to have an elective C-section at 39 weeks. So not very long away because that's next week. So it does mean we'll get to meet him a little bit earlier, which is super exciting. But if it doesn't work, then that's where we're at. And we've kind of came to that decision just now, so that when we go in for this ECV, if it doesn't work, that's fine. So the consultant has explained that the procedure, they can give you a jag to loosen all of your muscles, and especially with me being a fitness instructor, everything's pretty tight in there. They were saying that was one reason why they weren't sure if he's going to be able to turn at all, just because my stomach muscles are quite tight. So we're going to give it a go. We get a jag to relax the muscles, and then they try and they manipulate the baby around with their hands. It's done by a specialist consultant, so it's not just done by a normal doctor. I think it's somebody that specialises in it. So they're going to come and do that today, and we'll see how it goes. If it works, then baby will hopefully turn and stay head down, but there's always a chance that he could flip back up. I think if he did that, I would just probably go straight for the section because I wouldn't want to go through it all again. And I'm quite happy now that I've kind of accepted it. I did cry a lot at first, just because I was so prepared, and I think it was more the fact that your options are almost taken away for you, so you don't have the option to try and birth naturally and then end up with a C-section. So yeah, that's where we're at today, and that's what's happening. And the crazy thing is that, I mean, this ECV can bring on labour as well, so I could be meeting him even earlier than we first thought. But the fact that we could be just meeting him next week by C-section is absolutely wonderful news as well. We just can't wait to meet you. We're so excited. So yeah, I will let you know how I got on. This is currently where we're at bump wise. and he's dropped a little bit. And I'm starting to get a lot of pain here, so across the front of my stomach in this kind of area is very, very painful, but I think that's probably because he is bent over, so he's folded in half, so he's kind of taking up more space in there than I would like. But yeah, we'll see how we get on, and if I'll let you know and talk you through how the ECV went. I know that a lot of people are kind of worried about getting one, and it's really painful, so fingers crossed that I manage it. But the consultant was really, really nice, and he said that, you know, if they start doing the procedure and then you don't feel comfortable with it, then they just stop. So yeah, let's see when we're going to meet this baby boy.
And action.
Hello.
What are you doing?
We are on the monitor right now. We're looking at his heart rate, and I push this little button every time he moves, and then we're going to check on this screen whether he is still in the breech position, and then we start the ECV to spin the baby.
And you're going to get a jag.
Yeah, so I have to get a jag that will relax, relax my tummy muscles, hopefully making it a little bit easier to spin him round if he's up for it. But we'll find out in a minute if he is still in the breech position. Fingers crossed he's done his own spinning. Ooh.
Be good if he has, because then I can go and pick up my car.
Priorities, eh?
And we can get the Estabuco then.
So they explained to us the last time that if his heart rate goes up, that really means that it's going to move. He's going to move. Oh, hiccup for me. So we'll see. Get back to you. Hey, so I am back from the ECV. Unfortunately, it didn't work for us. The baby did not want to turn. They did mention that it's possibly because my stomach muscles being tight, as I mentioned before. They gave me a little, for anyone that's thinking about going for it, or you're like, oh, I don't know, they gave me a little injection in my arm to kind of try and loosen my uterus, my stomach muscles. They monitored baby before, during, after. They did a scan just to check, you know, he was still breech, because actually at first when they put the monitor on me, they thought that he had turned because the heart rate was coming up quite low, but he hadn't. So there was two consultants, and the first consultant gave it a try, and it wasn't too bad. They tilted the bed up a little bit as well, like, so I was kind of like a little bit of a hand to help, a little bit of help from gravity. They put one hand at the top because that's kind of where his head is, and then they pinched kind of down at the bottom to try and move him round. And it wasn't too bad the first attempt. He wasn't really moving though, so then they swapped over, and it was an older consultant that took over for like a little bit more experience, I think. That's what the midwife told me afterwards, so she's been maybe doing it a little bit longer. And her pressure was a lot harder, and it was extremely painful, the second one. So for those of the people that have told me that it is really sore, they weren't lying, it was pretty sore, and it just got too sore, I just couldn't manage to continue. Pretty much like the pain was more for me at the bottom, and she said, you know, your stomach muscles are so tight that it's just not really budging. They also said as well that baby was there, as if I didn't realise this, but I thought he was going to be like this way with his legs up this way, but they obviously sit like that, so they were hoping to kind of rotate him, do a somersault, but he is actually a little bit like this. So if this is the back of his vertebrae, it's kind of like tilted like that, so he would have had to have like tried to somersault round like that. So that was going to be quite a lot for him to do, which he doesn't have a lot of space in there, so it just wasn't going to happen. Also on this side, this is the way that they were going to try and rotate him. My placenta was here, so it was kind of like causing a little bit of a barrier, a little bit of a blockage, so there was no space. So we have taken the option of an elective C-section. Obviously some people did say, you know, have you thought about delivering a vaginal birth with breech? But for me, just the risk of baby getting stuck, getting distressed, I was like, do you know what, like, I've always wanted to have a natural birth, but it's just not meant to be, and I'd rather that he came and he was nice and safe. So we've got an elective C-section booked in for next week, which I'm hoping I'll chat about after that's happened, because this is really what I wanted to speak to everyone about anyway, and just document my little adventure after going through the 9 months. It's been amazing, but kind of focusing a lot on the recovery afterwards and getting back to being nice and fit and healthy and active and safe afterwards. So I'm not actually sure if there's any bruising. I've not even looked at my tummy yet. I don't think there is. They got really down quite low here. So I don't know, I bruise like a peach. So if there is any, I'm sure there'll be something that might come up here, maybe. If there is, then I'll let you know. The delights of pregnant life. Stephen's cutting my toenails.
It's fucking disgusting.
Stop it. So today we are at 38 weeks and 3 days, so just coming in with a little update. Excuse the Frenchies in the background, you will probably hear lots of snorting and maybe some strange noises. That is the dogs. So yeah, coming at you today with a little update. 38 weeks and 3 days. As you can see, baby is still sitting quite high. His head is still definitely up here. I mean, he might have dropped a little bit because it's not quite as sore. I go through stages where I feel it a lot, and then other times it's a little bit lower. What is she doing? But yes, he's definitely still breech, so we'll be delivering him by elective C-section, and that's going to happen next week. It's a little surprise for everybody that is obviously unaware of when we're going in, but we know when we know when we're going in, so it's going to be nice and calm and relaxed. Changed some of the things in my hospital bag today, just changed some of the pyjamas and things that I was packing for going into hospital. I have swapped them over to, you know, night dresses rather than maybe pyjama bottoms. I've got the line across. But yeah, I'm feeling really excited now, looking forward to what's about to happen. I'm just laughing at this like absolute madness that's happening on the floor. Yeah, I am feeling really excited now, but I'm getting a little bit anxious, I suppose, just about becoming a mum. It's my first time. I think I'm having a little bit of the fear and anxiety of the first night in hospital now that I know that I'm going to be delivering by C-section. I won't be getting straight home, and I'm going to be there by myself without my husband, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. But I'm assured that the midwives are going to be really, really helpful, which I know they have been so far, so I know that's going to be absolutely fine. They're going to help me out loads, but I think it's just, you're just a little bit scared. So yeah, I just feel like the day, because we know the day as well, it's like it's getting closer and closer and you know it's coming. So yeah, the anxiety is a little bit higher, the nerves, excitement is there. I actually built his little bedside next to me the other day, and I've been repacking my hospital bag. That's what's on the bed here. So yeah, I suppose I'll just update you again before we go in, and then he'll be here in no time.